Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a flip through of my A5 Archer and Olive Sarah Cray collab reading journal for the second quarter of 2024. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. As I said in my introduction, we're going to be doing a flip through of my reading journal for the second quarter of 2024. I absolutely love this journal. This is an A5 journal from Archer and Olive. It's from a collab that they did with Sarah Cray. It definitely influenced the way that I put together the intro pages for my reading journal for 2024. So I do have a sticker from According to Allie here with my name on it. You can use code Jennifer10 to save 10% on your order from According to Allie. And as you can see, I went with muted colors for my cover page. And I just want to quickly go through some of these intro pages before we dive into the second quarter of the year. I have my TBR here at the front, which I did fully use all 8 pages of. I have my Reading Rainbow, which is always my favorite spread in my reading journal. I love this spread. I have my key here with the colors that I use for this kind of visual tracker basically. And every time I finish a book, I color in the spine here on this Reading Rainbow. And then I have my Instagram challenge, which I'm happy to say I did read every single book that was recommended to me January through June. I do have several filled in for the second half of the year, but still a couple of empty spaces. So I definitely will be looking for recommendations. Here we have my A to Z challenge. I don't specifically read books to fulfill this challenge. I just think it's fun to see how many I can fill in at the end of the year. And honestly, doing pretty good. There's only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that need to be filled in still. Next, we have my genre challenge, which was new for me in 2024. My goal is to read 1 book from each of these genres, but because I had room to put 2 books in, I have been writing 2 books in. Obviously, sci-fi and horror are not genres that I read often or at all, so that's going to be interesting trying to fill that in. I also have 2 specific genre challenges going on. So fantasy is one, and I have read 1 fantasy book each month of the year, as well as this nonfiction challenge. I'm trying to read 6 throughout the year, and I've read 3, so pretty much on track for that. And then we have my 24 books in 2024 challenge. I've never done something like this before, and I'm glad that I did. I've been enjoying it. Most of these books are on my physical TBR, and that was a big reason why I decided to do this. I am a little behind schedule on this one. I've read 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 out of 24, and we would really want me to have read 12 out of 24 by the time July rolls around. So a little behind schedule, but not by much. And then we have my book bracket here, which I have filled in completely for the first half of the year. And after that, we get into all of my monthly stuff. And so I am going to flip forward to April as we are going to focus on the second quarter of the year. And April is the first month. I stuck with using ripped up sheets of paper from an Archer and Olive notepad for my intro pages for each month. I used several different stamps as well as little bits of washi tape in places. And then moving forward, I do have my monthly spread where I basically keep track of how long it takes for me to read each book. And then I have a key down here that indicates how I read that book. Then we move forward into my book spreads, and a couple things I want to comment on when it comes to this. 1, I definitely simplified things in the second quarter of the year. In the first quarter of the year, for my book specific spreads, there was a ton of detail going on. And while I love the way that these spreads look, they took a ton of time. So for the second quarter of the year, I definitely went a little bit more simple. And the other thing I want to mention is that I have not written quotes in, I don't think, for any book I read in the second quarter of the year yet. And I do want to go back and fill those in because I do really like doing that. Though it's definitely given me some pause to realize that I haven't done it for the second quarter of the year. Like, is that something I want to continue to put in my book specific spreads? I am going to do it for July, but I'm questioning it a little bit. I'm going to be honest. And this is when I read the entire Throne of Glass series. So you'll definitely see a bunch of Throne of Glass book covers on here. I made a little bit of an error at one point, so I did use some white paper from Archer and Olive to cover up and correct those errors. When I have a book that I did a book review for, I do use my book review stamp. And then we have my April recap page. I do a recap page over 2 pages, and total number of books was 12. I did one audiobook, 9 ebooks, and 2 actual physical books. I read over 6,000 pages. A big part of that was from that Throne of Glass series. And my top 3 books for the month were Darling Girls, Savor It, and Crown of Midnight. I always try to put a quote from my favorite book of the month down at the bottom here. And here we have May. I really, really love the way these intro pages came out. I like that they're a little bit darker with the purple and the dark blue that I used as one of my stamp colors. I was able to read my entire TBR, which is very exciting. I haven't done that since January of 2024. Moving forward to my monthly spread, over 2 pages, and then my book specific spreads. Now, these spreads are all going to look very similar throughout the second quarter of the year. Wild Love, I really, really enjoyed. Taming Seven was definitely my favorite book of the month, though. I did read these first 2 books in the Dirty Air series by Lauren Asher. They were okay. I think I just leave it at okay. I also read The Leather and Lark, which I loved. Not quite as much as Butcher and Blackbird, but still very good. Oh, I read Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves, and I absolutely loved both of those. So, so good. And Ready or Not. Oh, I really, really loved Ready or Not as well. That one was definitely really good. And then we have my May recap page. Again, all the same information that we had on my April recap page, just a little bit decorative in a different way. Read a total of 16 books. 10 of those were physical books, 3 were ebooks, and 3 were audiobooks. I read a little over 5,500 pages. And again, as we were going through, my top number 1 book of the month was Taming Seven. At number 2, I actually put Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. I just could not choose one over the other. And then I think when I did my May recap video, I put Leather and Lark in the number 3 slot, but when I put this page together and I was thinking about it more, I really felt like Ready or Not deserved that number 3 spot, and I stick with that. I think Ready or Not edges out Leather and Lark by a little bit. And then we have June, which is the last month that I have in this reading journal. I made a really, really good attempt at my TBR. I did start reading every single one of the books. I just DNF'd one of them, unfortunately. And again, we have my monthly spread here and then my book specific spreads. June was great. I had 3 5-star reads just for the summer. And then very quickly after, the rom-commers. And then we had a DNF. And then I had another 5-star read, which was codenamed Kingfisher. Honey was a cool one. That one was definitely very nostalgic for me as someone who grew up in the 90s. Love Unwritten, I was super looking forward to and was so excited to have gotten an arc for it, but unfortunately, it wasn't my favorite, I'll say. I did start the Bridgerton series. They haven't been spectacular so far, but yeah, I'm reading them. And then here's my June recap page. 11 books total, 4 were print, 3 were ebook, and 4 were audiobook. And honestly, if you look through, there's a bunch of books that I both listened to and physically read at the same time. And that's one thing that will be changing for the second half of the year. I generally, in my monthly spread, will put a line that indicates how I read the book. And usually I'll do it based on how I read the book the most if I did read it multiple different ways. So Viscount Who Loved Me is in blue for audiobook because I listened to it more than listened and physically read at the same time. But moving forward, that's going to look a little bit different. And then I read about 4,500 pages, and my top three were Codename Kingfisher, which is a middle grade book. I absolutely loved it. Number two was the rom-commers, and then number three was Just for the Summer. And that's it for this reading journal for the second quarter of the year. But I do want to take this opportunity to share with you all the reading journal that I will be using for the second half of 2024. Okay, so this is another A5 journal from Archer and Olive. This was in a box. I think it was like a self-care box or something like that, but I saw the journal online and I fell in love with it, so I was able to purchase it. I don't think I was able to get it off the Archer and Olive website. I think I got it off Mercari. I will say though, this one's staining quite easily. I already got a stain up here. I have a little bit of staining happening on the edge. I don't know if yeah, even on the back here. So that's unfortunate. Again, it's because of the lighter color and also I think just this fabric, but I do really love the color of this journal and the design on it. I didn't purchase the other Sarah Cray journal that was in this collab. I honestly didn't really like it very much. And so I wanted a reading journal for the second half of the year that was at least similar to the one for the first half, or felt like they kind of went together. And when I saw this, I felt like it went well enough with this journal to make it work. So that was my reasoning behind picking this up. And I did, again, kind of try to go with a more muted color palette in the intro pages. So again, sticker with my name from According to Allie. And then we have part 2 here. I didn't put a quote on this page. I wrote reading journal, and the reason why is because when I was putting this together, I just didn't leave myself enough room to write reading journal and part 2 down here. So I decided to just put part 2 down here and write reading journal on this side. I will say I wish I would have bumped this up a couple lines, but I do overall love the way that this looks. I love the gold foil florals behind here, and I even added in a couple of washies from the Desk Aesthetic box from Archer and Olive. This is a new page that I have added for the second half of the year that I'm really, really excited about. I saw April at Mom Run Craft do this in her reading journal, and I thought it was such a great idea. And I've been looking forward to starting my reading journal for the second half of the year to add this in. And it's called the First Line page. And basically, I just write in the first line from every book after I finish it. I think it's just such a fun idea. And then we're going to go right into my to be read page. And I did, I think, do 8 pages for this for the second half of the year, just because I did use all 8 for the first half of the year. And then we're going to go right into my Reading Rainbow spread. I haven't updated this at all, even though I have read a couple of books so far in the month of July. Then we have my Instagram challenge. I definitely went a little more stamp heavy putting these intro pages together and did less freehand work. So we do have stamped boxes and then stamped abbreviated months. My A to Z challenge, which I used different letters when stamping in A to Z, and I ran out of space. So it only goes to W. If I get any books that are XYZ, I think I'll just write them in on the side over here, but I'm not necessarily anticipating that. Those aren't like super common letters, I would say. Here we have my genre challenge, my fantasy and nonfiction challenges, and then my 24 books in 2024 challenge. I put these intro pages together, but it took me quite a while to actually print out these covers, and I, not thinking ahead, forgot that I needed 2 pages to do this. So I automatically went into my book bracket, and then when I went to put these in, I was like, wait a second, I only gave myself like 1, 2 instead of 4 full pages. So they're quite squished together. And because of that, all I did for kind of checking them off was put a small line and then I'm just going to write the date next to it. I didn't have room to like make a full box or anything like that. And that's okay. And also, I want to add in some of these paint splatters on here. I just haven't remembered to do that yet. Same on this one. I want to add some paint splatters up here, maybe even a little bit more deco around this box. This is my book bracket for 2024. I filled in the first half already from my other reading journal. And again, I used a bunch of stamps for this one. And that's going to be it for this flip through. July is next. I haven't actually put together my intro pages for July yet. I'm going to follow a similar theme that I've been following for the first 6 months of the year, though. And there will be a plan with me on that. If it hasn't posted already, it will be posting soon. And that's it for my flip through of my reading journal for the second quarter of 2024, and also a quick look at the reading journal that I will be using for the second half of 2024. If you all have any questions about how I put my reading journal together, what products I use, anything like that, please don't hesitate to put a comment down below. And as always, everyone, please be safe. Bye-bye.